All right, before Football Pod in America gets rolling, let's answer some questions. We're going to get right to it, Charean. At Stafford to Denver. Gee, I wonder what this question is going to be. Will Matthew Stafford be traded? The Broncos need a new quarterback and have a ton of young, talented weapons. Vic Fangio and John Elway have a playoff mandate next season, and Stafford makes the Broncos a playoff team. Now, first of all, I don't know that John Elway has a playoff mandate. John Elway's not going anywhere until they resolve the ownership situation. So as long as that lingers, Elway is safe. But, hey, we saw what they did with Peyton Manning. I'm intrigued by the possibility that, number one, Matthew Stafford is available, and number two, he makes a beeline to Denver just like Peyton Manning did 8 years ago. It's going to be actually 9 years ago that Peyton Manning joined the Broncos.
It's the only great move that John Elway has made as GM at the quarterback position, right? I mean, he can't draft them. He hasn't signed anybody else that's come in and done it, and Drew Lock doesn't look like the answer. And Mike, I thought last year, I think Locke went 5-0 last year. I really thought he was going to take that next step this year playing more, and he hasn't. The only guy with a lower passer rating than Drew Lock is Sam Darnold. So he's not the answer, and I don't think he's going to be the answer. I think you've seen enough to know that. So I am very intrigued by this possibility. I think it would be the most sure thing that John Elway has gotten since Peyton Manning.
Yeah, lack of durability and lack of effectiveness combined to create a toxic stew for Drew Lock. I was all in with him. I thought this would be the year. It isn't, and you don't get the luxury of 4, 5, 6 years for it to work anymore in the NFL, especially when there's plenty of other veteran options. And there are now every year because teams recognize they can find a young quarterback and hope that they hit on a first, second round draft pick. All right, next one comes from Gong Show West. If you were the GM building a team and your only choices at quarterback were Jared Goff and Jimmy Garoppolo, who would you sign? Wow. Look, here's my concern about Garoppolo. I think Garoppolo is a better quarterback, but this gets back to the Drew Lock conversation. You have to stay healthy. And I don't care what excuse or explanation you have for your various injuries. There's a point where you get injured so often, there's something missing in you. There's a lack of awareness. There's a lack of savvy. There's a lack of intelligence not to drop your shoulder and try to be a tough guy with the defensive back on the sideline and tear your ACL. I don't trust Jimmy Garoppolo to be on the field for 16 games. The year he was, hey, Super Bowl. But he's played one full season in his career. That's not good enough to get me to put faith in him. For Goff, I'm sorry. I hate to be this way. I still don't get it with Goff. I've never gotten it with Goff. He's kind of gangly and uncoordinated, and he's got that weird throwing motion. And, hey, he's making $33.5 million a year, so, more power to him. But I just don't get it with Goff. With Garoppolo, I at least understand what he can do when he's healthy. So I would take my chances with Garoppolo, and I would hire some sort of separate coach just to get him, whether it's through hypnosis or whatever, to try to avoid getting injured, and I guess I would take my shot with him, although I frankly would want neither of them to be my franchise guy.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think I'd quit if those were my only two choices at that point. But I would take Jimmy G over Goff just because I think he's a better quarterback.
All right, let's cram in another question or two here before we go. Art Jr. 0, will Anthony Lynn secure his job with a win against the Chiefs this Sunday, or is it a conclusion that he is gone, Charean? 3 wins in a row, could finish the season with 4 in a row. Is that enough to save him?
Well, you just look at how many problems they've had this year, Mike, with clock management, game management, strategy, changing things, and all the blown leads they've had. And I don't know that that's going to change. I mean, Anthony Lynn was responsible for all of those things, and he didn't fix it this year. So as much as we all love Anthony Lynn, and I know the organization loves him, I think it's probably time to go at 32-31 and 11-20 over the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, as much as I respect him and personally like him, I agree with you. And when you have that young franchise quarterback in Justin Herbert, it puts you in a position where you can be choosy about who your coach is going to be. All right, one more. Big Daddy Bustard. Who is New England's starting quarterback next year, and where is Josh McDaniels coaching, Charean?
I think Josh McDaniels is back. I don't think anyone hires him. And I do think they have a different quarterback. I don't know who that's going to be, but I don't think he's on their roster right now. And I think we figured out, Mike, what New England thinks about Jarrett Stidham by the fact that he's not starting games right now for the Patriots.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.